Hey guys, it's Fidget here. Just wanted to go over a trade I made on AMD, and I guess after that I may go over a trade I took on MU also, but they're kind of the same idea here. So, looking at Nasdaq, we opened up in the morning and saw that clear CPI data was bad, and it shot us under you know, what would you say? I would say this is 12,100. So on the 4 hour, we can see it pushed us down there. Um, you know, I don't think it closed down there right away. Let's see. Okay, no, I'm wrong. See, the hourly closed under that 12,100 level here. Seeing that made me want to watch for two things. So I wanted to see if we'd get bought back up, pushed back over here, or if we could get some type of push here to trade a rejection to the downside, or let me mark this level here. I'm not sure why this is not marked. Let's mark that. I'll delete this zone. I mean, this zone matters a lot, but just for the sake of this video, I'll do this real quick. So this 12,000 zone here, I'll make it real thin. I wanted to see after that, we tested that and pushed down a little, or I wouldn't say we tested that, but we pushed down into open. I wanted to see if at that point we could close under 12,000 to try and make that move towards 11,952 and potentially lower. Um, so waiting around for the first 30 minutes allows me to see this specific candle here. That gives me, a decent amount of info. So coming into the morning, we see that CPI dump closed under a resistance. At that point in time, it's sitting in the middle of the zone, but we're watching to see if we can get a close under 12,000. So right here. I wait for the first 30 every single day so I can get that first hourly close. And we can see that hourly closed under 12,000. At that point in time, when I see that close under 12,000, I start looking potentially to go short in the market. Um, I didn't get a short, or I didn't find the entry I liked exactly at 7 on AMD here, because we closed under 12,000, but AMD was in a straight line down. So for me, I'd rather trade, some type of pullback and retest, which is where I ended up finding my entry. But we'll get to that set in a second. Just because the market moves in legs, I didn't want to enter right here when it did close under. What would you say? And it closed under its pre-market level on the hourly. Let's zoom. Why is it like that? Okay, let's add 5 days, sure. Okay, that's odd. Um, okay, I guess we're only gonna see that. Anyways, I'm not sure why it wouldn't show me the hourly there, but we can see we've got this. So right at 7, we can see that candle closed under 96.86, which was pre-market low. Mark that level here. It's this red line, but we'll see that here. So closing under there, I wanted to see two things. So I wanted to see a potential retest, and I also wanted to see how the market would react when it got down to 11,952. So when we did get down to that level, some shorter time frames, we can see that we at first got bought back up, but after we tested our levels once again, we continue to trend back down. So taking a look at this one now, we pushed back through under 11,952, and at that point in time, like I mentioned, I start looking for a short once again because we passed, we surpassed our support and closed under it, with decent amount of volume here. So at that point in time, I'm watching for that retest of the pre-market level to potentially get a short on some type of bearish signal. So when we look at this, we can see that on the 5 minute, we didn't get a bearish engulfing, but I still decided to take my entry here at 96.86, or not at 96.86, but once it tested that and rejected. The reason being was because I wanted to see if AMD as well as Nasdaq and SPY were going to come back and test their pre-market levels, which AMD did. SPY and Nasdaq, of course, did not. They came, they rose a little bit, but then rejected. And then I started to look for AMD for that rejection. And when it came at that level that I was sound at taking a technical trade off, I did. So when we got that rejection, I took my entry on AMD puts at exactly 737.05. So that would be this little gray box, probably the bottom of this candle here. I entered at 737.05 exactly for 141 per contract on some puts, with a stop loss on a close over 96.86 or 97.05, basically this highlighted zone, with some profit targets. The first profit target being near low of day, and this other odd wick we had from yesterday. So I had that marked here at 96.04, and that happens to be where I took my first profit, I believe. So yeah, we shortly after the entry, we moved down, and we came, a little bit lower, and then at I believe 750.15, since we closed under this 96 level, I believe I went ahead and I put a stop like a dollar or two away from the exact contract price, because we were already under my take profit level. So it was either gonna set it at that exact level or put it, or just take profit there. And at 750.15, I got my first exit on most of my position from 141 to 170 for $29 per contract for a 20% gain. You can see this is the first entry here, is in this little wick in this gray box. First entry is a little bit under 96, which was that wick point, that first profit target we were talking about, which was slightly before low of day. We got our first exit there, most of our position. At that point in time, I had some runners left, so I decided to put a stop at entry. Stop up here, highlight that. So I had a stop loss right here on the rest of my position. That way, even if the trade reverses and comes back up to test it again, I won't, or if it double bottoms here and tests it up again, I won't go red for the day. I can look and reposition on this trade, and I already secured profits on most of my contracts. So shortly after that first exit and trim, we can see the market fell down further. And as I had my stop here at, I believe, 141, which is my entry, we kept getting our move down. As we moved down and broke low of day, I saw this decent candle, so I did not adjust my stop loss. But once we got close to 100% of these contracts, I went ahead and put a stop at, I believe, around 85 or 95% on this contract, just to secure that, because I didn't expect the market to dump too hard after it dumped very hard yesterday and had bad CPI. I didn't think we would overextend too much to the downside, especially the way with Nasdaq and SPY had strong supports under us. So went ahead and put that stop, and tightened it up once we made a new low here, and then at exactly 827.52, the market bounced up a tiny bit. It hit my stop once I adjusted it and stopped me out from 141 to 269 for $128 profit per contract for a 90% gain on AMD there. So the main takeaways from this thing would be, always, not always, but it's generally smartest to wait for some type of retest. In this case, you can see why. If I entered right at 7 when it closed under here, I would have got to move down, but then I would have had to face this whole move to the upside, and potentially, get stopped out, because in reality, the 5-minute closed over at 96.86, which if you entered here and had a stop on a close over 96.86 pre-market low, you would have potentially got stopped. Maybe you would look at a 15-minute, but let's see. Yeah, even the 15 closed back over there, so a lot of people would have got stopped there. So it's always better to enter at that inflection point rather than away from it, and then exiting at that inflection point. So it's a good thing to learn. And then from there, another takeaway would be, adjusting stops. So if I didn't adjust my stop from my entry down to around 90% profits, I would have given back basically all my profits on that, not all my profits, but all my profits on that runner, because we can see later in the day it came back and ranged right around 96, which would have lost me about $2 or $1.75 underlying, which is not worth it. You're better off taking the profits and finding another entry. There's no reason to hold on and hope. The market's not going to dump $50 in one day. You're going to get your hopes up, and it's never going to happen. So that's the AMD trade there. First exit 20%, second exit 90%. And we'll go ahead and take a look at MU, because this one was kind of similar. On MU, around 7:45, I saw us bearish engulfing at pre-market lows, 63.88. I'll mark that yellow. At that point in time, I wanted to go short, but looking at this buyer volume here made me think otherwise, and I had already gotten into my AMD trade, so I was a little bit patient on this one. But what we can see is that I waited, since I saw that original reaction on the 5, I looked to higher time frames, and I saw on the 15 there was a bullish engulfing, right, closing above pre-market high. So in order for me to go long on a technical aspect, I wanted to see a bearish engulfing on the 15. Right around, I would say, yeah, on 7, sorry, not 7, around 8 when this candle closed, a bearish engulfing under 63.2 and back under pre-market levels. I went ahead and took my entry at exactly 8:01:51. So that would have been a minute, like, well, yeah, 1 minute and 51 seconds after this bearish engulfing closed. So somewhere in, sorry, I won't delete that, but somewhere in this candle right here, when I think, yeah, when we started moving back under here, I went ahead and took that entry on MU at exactly 8:01:51 for $182 per contract for puts. Shortly after at 8:06, I think right somewhere down here, at 8:06:12, I went ahead and trimmed most of my position for a small 5% gain. Reason being is because I was still in AMD runners, and if the market reversed, there's no reason to be double leveraged, especially when the gains are given to me. I might as well trim more. So after taking that first trim here, I went ahead and put a stop at my entry. So I would have had a stop right around here. And then we can see later in, after my entry, we moved down a decent bit, but I was in AMD with a decent runner, so I had some room to leave my stop at my entry here, which is exactly what I did. And then we came down lower, but I didn't exit. I kept my stop there, thinking, maybe we will leg down. I'm fine with risking a few dollars on this trade, especially because this MU was expiring next week. And on the AMD trade, I had same days. So that's the difference between me, making a logical decision to move my stop or to leave my stop there and potentially catch a runner. So with that stop there, we can see the market came back and stopped me out at exactly, what is this? It looks like it was at, I guess it was over here. So at exactly 10:47 on the dot, my stop was triggered at 182, which was my entry price for break even. So overall, we made 5% on the trade. Probably only covered fees, but it is good to see that I allowed my stop to do what it was meant to do. We didn't move higher, and it wouldn't have ended up really being a loss, but the market can always flip back, and if I was looking at this, and I didn't have a stop, it probably would have, looked very bullish to me anyways, with this bullish engulfing, bullish engulfing, bullish engulfing, and then a breakout over the last high, closing over it, or over the last two highs of bodies. That would have been something where I thought, okay, get out of here. We could push higher towards 63.88 pre-market high, where I could potentially enter again, so I'd always exit here. So, this one ended up not being much of a trade, probably barely covering fees, but I did not allow this trade to be red, and I didn't even give it the option to come back and be red with that stop right there. And for anyone who, watched my analysis on the NASDAQ last night, it was key to have these levels for me, because I was able to trade my zones exactly how I like to trade them, especially when we closed under 12,000. Let me know. All right, we're slightly bearish. Support at 11,952 to see if we can crack it. Cracked it, closed under. We found our entry on AMD, found our entry on MU, and played accordingly. It's decently simple, you know. There's nothing crazy with the way we traded. There's no crazy strategy. We had, you know, simple price action off of our levels and off of our zones, and we played accordingly exactly how we said we would last night. You know, of course, some things are a little bit off because no price action is perfect, but we played on our closes and, you know, traded what we saw. So I hope you guys could learn something from this. I try and be completely transparent so you can see my entry, my exit, the exact time of the entry, the exact time of the exit, the price that it was traded at, and the percentage and everything like that, so you guys can, you know, maybe learn a little bit and see what signals I'm looking for and what signals you should be looking for and how the market moves in legs and how you can trade accordingly to that. Yep, if anyone has any feedback, I always appreciate it. Some of you guys have mentioned a few things to me that you liked. Some people have mentioned things that I could work on, and I appreciate both sides of that. You know, I'm always open to feedback, so just let me know. I hope you guys can learn something here. Have a good night.